Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Longbox Chronicles Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm taking a look at one of two films this month, which not only are based on comic books, which is sort of the whole premise behind Longbox Chronicles Month, but were also made-for-TV movies that were supposed to act as pilots for television shows. The difference is, while the one I'm covering later actually did get turned into a TV show, this one didn't. In fact, this is one of the most infamous pilots, I believe, that has ever been made. So infamous, in fact, it's never aired in the U.S. The U.S. is usually really good about taking our television pilots and at least airing them once, but this one apparently is so bad that CBS couldn't even be asked to do that. Tonight's movie is Justice League of America. You would think that a Justice League movie would be good on some level. However, it might be. I don't know. The only way to find out is if I actually sit down and watch it. So, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to see if this Justice League pilot is even half as bad as people say it is. Which, it is very easy possible that it does suck. But, again, I won't know until I stop babbling and I stop padding out the video and I finally just watch the damn thing. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Justice League of America. The Weatherman. The villain in this thing is called the Weatherman. They have the Flash amongst the fucking roster for this this show. And instead of taking his villain, instead of taking one of his villains, which was the Weather Wizard, they're gonna create a new shitty-looking villain and call him the Weatherman. What kind of lazy retards wrote this fucking thing? Okay, I kind of have to ask, why in the hell is the Atom's costume so fucking bulky and ugly? I swear, guys, his fucking costume looks almost as if it were made using fucking football shoulder pads. It looks really fucking ugly, dude. Okay, so Ice was just asked how she froze a river, when earlier they mentioned that it wasn't a river that she froze, it was a lake. I'd be real happy if this movie would attempt to keep some level of fucking consistency, but I have this weird feeling that that is one thing I'm never going to get from this. Are you fucking kidding me? So, even though she's talking to Green Lantern, she can't tell that Green Lantern's her boyfriend, even though he doesn't change his hairstyle, he doesn't change his voice, he just has this big bulky hunk of plastic over his fucking eyes. That is the only thing that differentiates Guy Gardner from Green Lantern, and the stupid bitch can't tell the fucking difference? I want to find the writers and I just want to throttle them soundly. This is starting to hurt, guys. So a pair of guards responding to a fucking alarm notice a computer monitor which has the blueprints for a weather manipulating device, but they don't bother to ask questions about that because the person looking at the fucking monitor is a goddamn employee, knowing full well that there is some terrorist who's able to manipulate the weather in order to terrorize the city. I swear to God, the writers who wrote this shit don't know anything about fucking writing intelligent characters. This thing is getting fucking painfully shit with every passing second, and I've got fuck another 40 minutes of this crap. So when the Martian Manhunter arrived on Earth, he looked for people with special powers so that way he could help save the Earth. So basically, he's a portly, green-skinned version of Professor X. I want to find whoever the hell wrote this thing. I don't care how many people it is. I will take pickaxes to the heads of every motherfucker responsible for writing this goddamn thing. This is by far one of the stupidest fucking things I have ever watched. But I'm gonna have plenty of time to talk about that when this fucking shit piece is done. Is Green Lantern actually trying to pry away the hull of this ship with a crowbar? Even though he could, with his ring, create a goddamn, like, laser that could carve right through it, then create a protective bubble to keep all of them safe, and then fly the fuck out. No, he's gonna pry and shit with a fucking crowbar. Oh my fucking god. You guys have no idea how much this hurts right now. The sun is warm. The grass is green. Fuck this movie. Okay, I think I'm mellowed out a little bit now. Jesus Christ, that hurt. Okay, that was Justice League of America. Okay, apparently the deep breathing and the meditational exercises aren't doing shit. Alright, I'm gonna get right into this shit. I'm gonna just dive right into this. Where to even fucking start? Writing. Let's start with the moldiest apple in this fucking bushel. The writing. Now, if you think I'm going to talk about how loyal it is to the fucking comics or any of that shit, I'm not going to be doing that. Because I've never done that with a comic book film, no matter how tempted I would be if it's one that I actually know a little bit about. No. I'm not doing that because, frankly, this thing wanted to be its own version of the fucking Justice League, and frankly, it fails at being in any way entertaining, partially because of the writing. I'm going to start with the dialogue in terms of writing. The dialogue between our heroes is the same kind of inane, shallow, uninteresting, unfunny bullshit you would get from a fucking episode of Friends. So, it's already starting off very poorly in terms of writing. Our characters have almost no fucking depth to speak of. I mean, guys, we have amongst the Justice League the Flash, Green Lantern, the Atom, Fire, Ice, and the Martian Manhunter. These are all characters who have years of backstory and development, but apparently what we get is the Flash sounds like he's a reject from Jersey Shore. Green Lantern is not nearly as much of a douchebag as that specific comic book in fucking carnation of his is. In fact, he doesn't really have a lot of personality at all. The Atom is only a fucking nerd. There really is nothing else going for him beyond that. Fire is just a goddamned actress with literally no other depth beyond that. Ice is just this, Ice is basically the new kid. That's really all I can say. She just got her powers. This whole thing was a 90-minute origin story about how Ice got her powers and became a member of the Justice League. The Martian Manhunter is just there for the sake of being there because the League apparently needed a fucking leader, and they couldn't be asked to try to get the rights to Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman to fill that role. So they went with the Martian Manhunter. I will get into that part in a little bit because I'm going to talk about the casting. But yeah, all of our characters, all of them, are shallow, lifeless, and shitty, which actually sort of complements the god-awful wooden dialogue just fine. The story itself is so absolutely inane and stupid that I cannot even bring myself to say that any element of the writing is good. Holy shit. I'm going to get into casting right now. Probably one of the best casting choices they made was to get John Kasser, the guy known for voicing the Crypt Keeper, to play the Atom. I don't know how, but he was able to pull off this. He actually turns in a really good performance, which is better than damn near everybody else in this fucking movie. However, it would probably have been better if his dialogue didn't suck. But somehow, John Cassar was able to polish those turds just enough to make himself look good. The only other, marginally mentionable casting choice is getting David Ogden Stiers to play the Martian Manhunter. For those of you who don't know who David Ogden Stiers is, the man is most known for being one of the many stars of MASH, where he played the character of Charles Emerson Winchester III. Well, apparently, between MASH and Justice League, he put on quite a bit of weight, which is saying a lot because he was already a little bit portly on MASH. So now, as the Martian Manhunter, he is so goddamn rotund that he makes me look skinny. And cast somebody that big as a character whose entire wardrobe consists of a cape, blue undies, and red suspenders, we are not exactly talking about a very good casting choice. What's sad, though, is that his voice is perfect for it, and he was able to pull off the absolutely god-awful dialogue fantastically. And since they have his face covered in so much fucking makeup, it kind of makes me wonder why the hell they didn't cast somebody maybe a little bit skinnier and just loop in David Ogden Stiers doing the voice of the Martian Manhunter. I mean, they were able to do it at one point when the Martian Manhunter has to pose as fire, but they didn't want to do it for the whole thing. Especially since the Martian Manhunter is really only there for about 10 minutes of the entire movie, if even. And during those times, they take as many opportunities as possible to have wide shots of him, so that way you can see that he really is the size of a medium-sized sumo wrestler. It really is not a good idea to do that when your casting choice, at least in terms of overall appearance, is not that good. It basically would be like casting me as Spider-Man, alright? It's not gonna fucking happen. Beyond that, though, every other actor turns in an absolutely wooden and bullshit showing. The only two people who turn in any kind of reasonably promising performance are the only two I can name, and those are John Cassar and David Ogden Stiers. And unfortunately, both of those are also hobbled by either physical appearance or the fucking costume. I want to talk about the costuming. If you guys ever get a chance to go to any comic book or sci-fi convention, I want you to look at all the costumes. If you find anybody dressed as the Flash, or dressed as the Atom, dressed as Ice, I can guarantee you their costume is going to be 1,000,000 times better than what was used in this fucking movie, which is really pathetic when you consider the fact that people who go to most of those comic book conventions are only spending, at best, maybe a couple $100 on their costume. Most people are not willing to splurge that much on a costume, but some people are. And this was a pilot for a TV show, so you would almost expect them to have had some level of fucking budget, so maybe the costumes wouldn't have looked so shitty. But no, we have the Atom decked out in fucking football pads, and the Atom, Green Lantern, and the Flash all have these gigantic, massive plastic masks that just look absolutely shitty. I'm telling you guys, probably the one crippling feature to this is the costumes. These are some of the worst costumes I've ever seen for any superhero movie ever. And that includes television movies such as Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Generation X. This thing had the worst costumes out of all of them. The saddest part is, 7 years before this ungodly shit heap was made, CBS had a show based on The Flash. Even though I've never seen that fucking show, I have seen the costume from that series, and it looked absolutely amazing. So what the fuck kind of excuse could they have for coming up with this god-awful, cheap fucking looking hunk of shit 7 years later? You would almost have expected the costume to have improved over that time. But no, they couldn't be asked to even fix the fucking costumes. But hey, again, that's minor compared to the god-awful fucking writing. Alright. I can't really talk about camera because the camera work is just the kind of shit you would fucking expect from a mid-90s action television show. As in, there really isn't a whole lot there. In fact, actually, the camera work is just a little bit more akin to what you would have seen on a sitcom. The camera, where the cameras are essentially just fixed and there is very very little movement. There are a ton of 2 shots and 3 shots that just would probably have looked better if they were done on an actual sitcom set instead of on something that was meant to be used for a more action oriented show. While I'm on the subject of camera work, and I should have also mentioned this during the writing, when I was talking about the writing, they opted to add into this thing, and I don't fucking know why, but they added in these little fucking, like, I'd almost have to call them, like, interview segments, which do nothing but pad out the shit. I understand that these things were supposed to show us more depth with these characters, but the very fact that every single one of these characters has all of the depth and complexity of a piss puddle, it really is doing nothing more than padding out a god-awful movie to make it run long enough to air on television. Frankly, if this thing were ever to be released on DVD, I would almost have to beg for them to cut out that fucking shit, because maybe the movie might flow a little bit better, but it still wouldn't be any fucking good. So anyway, the camera work is fine by television standards, the lighting is okay by television standards, the sound is fine by television standards. We honestly are not looking at anything which was trying to recreate the fucking wheel here in terms of all of the technical elements. Unfortunately, most people are not going to watch this and mention that it has at least passable technical aspects to it. No, people are going to talk about the writing, the acting, and the god-awful costumes, which are all things that are going to keep this thing from ever being seen as watchable by anybody. This movie is absolute shit. Earlier, I mentioned a pair of other television movies based on comic book properties, those being Generation X and Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm going to tell you right now, both of those movies are absolute pig shit, but I would rather watch those over sitting through this god-awful thing again, and that's really sad because I'm a fan of The Flash, I'm a fan of the Green Lantern, I'm a fan of DC Comics in general. This son of a bitch offends me on almost every goddamn level. Holy fuck! I really want to find the person who fucking came up with the bright idea of making a Justice League television show, live action, back in 97. I want to kill that son of a bitch, because something this absolutely abysmal should never have been made. It fucking should have been torpedoed at the writing stage. What fucking pinheaded jackoff looked at this thing, or rather looked at the script to this pile of shit and said, sure, go ahead, film it. No. There is no excuse for this thing to be fucking made unless CBS had some kind of fucking contractual obligation to make another show based on a DC Comics property. At which point, good job. Good fucking job, CBS. You went and you took a big steamy dump on one of the biggest properties that DC Comics has. I hope you're fucking happy. Holy shit. It has been a long time since I've been this pissed off at a goddamn movie. I really do feel as if the last 90 minutes of my fucking life have just been completely wasted. I haven't felt this horrible since I watched fucking Birdemic. Jesus Christ. Guys, I'm going to have to go and just relax for a bit. Do me a favor. Yes, I said I watched this thing on fucking YouTube. Do not look for it. Because that is 1 hour and 22 minutes you will never get back. And by the time that you are done, you're probably going to hate yourself about as much as I hate myself right now. Because goddammit, I am the only thing near me that I can personally hate, because I forced myself to sit down and watch this fucking thing, and I believe that for that I fucking deserve a medal. So with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.